أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه وولاه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد, we will start inshallah today the new subject in regards to inshallah the interfaith dialogue, what we should do and what we should not do in this regard, inshallah Rabbil Alameen. We had a previous session about some of the etiquettes also of the people of the book. Can anybody remind me what was it? We talked about this in the previous session. Anybody remembers? Nobody remembers? Guys, just good listeners?
Yes, I remember.
What is it?
That you're not representing the Islam.
What was that?
Sorry, I'm being concise about it.
What was the topic?
The topic for
That we mentioned that in. What was the topic?
oh, I don't recall. I'm sorry.
How the Prophet ﷺ interacted with people of other faiths, other religions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was in regards to, how the Prophet ﷺ dealt with people within other faiths, and we touched on the interfaith dialogue, right? And all of that. So AMJA, like Assembly of Muslim Jews of America, has had few conferences focused on that. So there was da'wah issues in non-Muslim land. So da'wah is like the general umbrella that you're inviting people to Islam. And the da'wah means helping Muslims keep their own religion and practice it. So we have to give da'wah to the Muslims and giving da'wah to non-Muslims by teaching them about Islam. Like, inviting them to know about Islam. Now, they embrace it or not, this is their decision. It's not our, we don't push anybody to do that. So da'wah means invitation. So da'wah is the overarching umbrella. Then you have, under the da'wah, there are few things. You do it by inviting people to know what Islam, by showing people how Islam is, by discussing the shared principles and the shared beliefs, and then by also explaining how our religion handles certain topics, women's rights, how Islam looks at that versus the people of the book, how Jews, Christian, Muslims look at different issues in society, political issues, economical issues, social issues, personal issues, gender issues, psychological issues, emotional issues. That's fine. So we can talk with people about that. That's what interfaith means, interfaith activities, interfaith dialogue. And then you go specifically in the interfaith dialogue and decide what you talk about. And when you come to the interfaith dialogue, you talk about religious issues. And then when you come to religious issues, it becomes like offensive and defensive, and that's what we do not want. So you come from the overarching principle that Muslims, wherever they are, they're supposed to be inviting people and showing people Islam, presenting Islam, let's say it like that, presenting Islam to people. Okay, so that is the overarching umbrella here. Overarching principle is to present Islam to people. Right? What do they do with it, with that presentation? It's up to them. It's like you are giving presentation to people about anything. Then under that comes two categories, inviting Muslims and the non-Muslims, or presenting it to Muslims and non-Muslims. presenting it to Muslims so they can practice their religion, presenting it to non-Muslims so they become aware of what Muslims do. Because Muslims are an integral part of the world, of humanity, of the societies that they live in, right? And under Muslims, under the Muslim category, then you come teach people their worship, their faith, their belief first, their worship, their mu'amalat, the dealings with each other, the moral principles, the penal code, and how to, adapt and how to adjust and how to, serve and how to benefit the societies that they are in. So this is for Muslims and to be good Muslims. Now, for the non-Muslims, you're presenting it, and that's what Islam does, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what we are all about, Muslims, and how we are like citizens of this culture, like everybody else in this culture, and that's what we do. That's what our Islam telling us. That's one portion of it. That's a dialogue, like presenting it. Or you are invited to share how Islam looks at certain things. And that's a dialogue now. So there's a presentation, which is a monologue, and then there is a dialogue between two entities. So someone tells you, come give me a presentation about Islam. That's not an interfaith. That's not a dialogue in itself. It can be under the interfaith dialogue activities, but that in itself is not a dialogue. And then come and present, what Islam looks at freedom, what Islam looks about equality, what does Islam say about being thankful, what Islam says about patience, what Islam says about financial systems, what Islam says about political parties, what Islam says about election, what Islam says about this and that. Or you discuss in a theological aspect. Theological aspect means what is the belief in God? What is the belief in Isa? Who's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What do we believe in angels and heavens and earth? This creed. Now, when people mix all of this up, then it becomes a problem, and that's why we have this course here to understand all of these things. So you have to understand exactly where you are, where you are. You're a Muslim, and your job is to deliver, whatever you know about Islam through your actions. You're not a sheikh, or you're not a scholar. Through your actions, just do what you're required to do as a Muslim, and people will see you. And when they ask you questions, if you can answer, answer. If you're not qualified to answer, don't answer. Refer it to someone else who knows. It's as simple as that. So to involve in the interfaith dialogue, you have to understand exactly. When we say interfaith dialogue, it is more of a figurative, allegorical. It's figure of speech. It's like kind of metaphorical. It's like everything we do with non-Muslims. It's kind of like a dialogue, like to understand each other. That's what it means. But actual dialogue means two people sitting there doing something. So I want you to understand that, because it's very important. When you are from the beginning, know exactly what you're doing, then you will know exactly your role, and you are not going to transgress. Transgress here, I mean by transgressing others, and transgressing and compromising your religion, or transgressing your limits. It goes both ways. You're transgressing people's privacy and borders and boundaries, and you're transgressing your own limitations too. Like as a Muslim, there are certain lines you cannot transgress in all directions, left, right, front, and back. You cannot retreat to a certain level that becomes a compromise, and you cannot go forward because it's considered an offense and attack. You see? And you cannot go to this, that means you are abandoning the religion, right, becoming an extreme, and you cannot go to the left, you're abandoning the religion, by neglecting certain things. So I want you to understand this square concept. As a Muslim, you have a square concept. As a Muslim with Allah Azza wa Jal, with everybody else, Muslims or non-Muslims or humans, you have certain limits. You have certain limitations. So if you cross forward, you become like attacking others and violating their freedom and privacy and personal boundaries. And if you go back, become apologetic, and you become, compromising the religion, and you are not secure about your own religion, and then you do damage to the religion and the community while you think you're doing right, and you see that around you. Many Muslims, they assume that they are representatives of the religion, and then they start giving the wrong idea about Islam as very weak, very non-relevant to to this life, and apologize. We are not that, and everybody doing things that does not please others. That means that's not us. That's not Muslims. These are bad guys. So they retreat and they compromise. Now, if you are in the middle, you're fine. You're not going offensive, and you're not going backward. You're, mashallah, moderate about your own practice and everything. But then at certain times, people go toward the right. That becomes extreme now, extreme in applying the religion from within, and that will affect them. They become in the offensive more. Or they go toward the left and neglect, people like, Muslims, but they are not abiding by the rules of Islam, and they're drinking, and they taking riba, and they, mingling, and they're doing all the things, but they're saying we are Muslims, and that's what Islam should be, very progressive religion and all of that. And when they move to the left, for sure they're going to move to the back. And those who move to the right, for sure they're going to become offensive. You understand? So I want you to get these dynamics. And if you look carefully around you, sisters, you'll find exactly what I'm talking about. You represented in your own community. You don't have to look far. Don't think of this far from you. But if you notice, you'll see among even the sisters community in the masjid. But you have to be very aware of what I'm saying, and you will see someone who is going toward the right all the way become very, very aggressive in judging everybody as not good Muslims, because they make themselves that criteria here. See? And those become offensive within Islam to everybody else on their left, because they are on extreme right. So everybody on their left become not a good Muslim. And if they do that within the Muslim Jama'ah, let alone now, they're non-Muslim. And you'll see what I'm saying. Like whenever you have elections or people talking, and some of the sisters was saying, putting a table outside or doing this or that, you know exactly what I'm trying to say here. Putting a table outside the masjid, or a woman without hijab or a non-Muslim coming to the masjid, you'll see this knee-jerking reactions all the time. And this is people who are going more and more toward the right without even sometimes knowing. Yeah. So they become offensive to everybody on their left. So around the square, and they are going slowly toward the right, become self-righteous to the point that everybody on their left is not a good Muslim, and their degree increases until, all the ones in the left sometimes become kafir, that's their own Jama'ah, Muslim. Who say, La ilaha illallah Rasulullah. Huh? Some of them say openly, some of them would, indirectly. So if they are like that, within everybody toward their left from the Muslim community is not good, then what's going to happen in the Interfaith Dialogue? Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be worse. What about those who are on the left now? They will consider everybody on the right extreme. You see? Those who are on the right, everybody to their left is not good Muslims, but they decrease, they increase in the further they are from those who are on the right, the worse they become, right? That's the dynamic. So what is going to happen? They isolate themselves and all the community. But is that true though? They may be true about those who are in the far left. But the closer they are to you, that means they're closer to you. You're supposed to, not be that specific, Same thing the people on the left do. And that's why it bothers me. Like I go to an event or a wedding or something like that, and you find some people who consider themselves, okay, who are the liberal Muslims, who are the good ones. That's exactly what the extreme right doing. And it's kind of like fascinating. Wallahi, sister, it's fascinating. Like, it's kind of like, wow. You find somebody like, and I'm not, I wear suit and tie and everything, so don't get me wrong, Like, you find someone like, mashallah, chic, like looking good and perfume and, all this thing here, the brother and his wife, mashallah, no hijab, nothing, and wearing, like this kind of dresses and the perfume, you can smell it from a mile away, and makeup and everything, and they are sitting there crossing their legs in front of the sheikh, and they are saying, how come sheikh, these people like aggressive, and they are like extreme and judging and everything. I'm a good Muslim and and all of that kind of thing, as if they are the representation of Islam. It should be like that. Then I'm like kind of fascinated, and I'm looking at them, and I'm kind of like listening here, and I'm hearing the same exact narrative verbatim that I hear from the right. How come these people are doing that in Islam? And we are the ones who are holding to the Sunnah of the Prophet and the Quran and all of that. And those people are like not representing Islam. The other side are saying the same. And that's what I want to open your eyes to. When you are here, then you will be able to do the dialogue with the non-Muslims. If we are not figuring out in-house politics, we fail miserably. Does not matter where you are in this square here. If you are in the middle, you have to be aware of these two sides. If you consider yourself in the right, you have to be aware and open your mind. If you are in the left, you have to be aware of it. You're never the representative of Islam unless you abide by it. I'm not judging anybody here, but if you are not doing something which is fard, or not considering something fard as fard, then there's a debate here. So don't consider yourself like I am the representative, I'm the divine savior of people. And if the extreme right looking down upon everybody, I see the same look in the eyes of many who consider themselves progressive and liberal. Same exact look in their eyes that they are looking at others as no good Muslims. I am the good Muslim. They are doing exactly the same. I was always telling people, those extremists, like, ISIS and all of these people who kill and all of that. I said they are the same methodology, the same kind of principle, like drug dealers, gangsters, and pornography industry. Think about it. Those four, they do the same exact principles, apply same principles, same strategies, same plans, same goals, same everything. The extremist groups, whether Muslims or non-Muslims, drug dealers, the gangsters, and the pornography industry. They always aim for what? The vulnerable. They always want to recruit people for their cause. They always have no principle, like, any means possible to gain more, boundaries, to have their boundaries expanded, to get more authority. And their issue is to destroy the structure that exists, the status quo. Drugs, we give that high to people, so they're absent mind. Then they can be easy controlled. Pornography, same thing, to be easy controlled. Then you have gangsters to be easy controlled. You have to serve the gang, right? And that's what it is. Hold on a second. Exact thing, and they use the same exact methodology. They aim to control as many people as possible through what? Through vulnerability. So the youth, and all of them are the youth, the young generation. The young generation have a vacuum, do not have a role model, they want to look up to something, and they are easy to be controlled. While they want to be free, they end up being controlled. Controlled through their lust and desire, and that's it. Their desire for fame, for power, that's how gangsters and extreme group do. They want a high through lust and desire, drugs and pornography. So you will find those four, they share certain things and they separate from certain things. But the one principle is control and recruit people to serve a purpose. Yeah. And the same two groups on the left and the right. Left want to preach and advocate that Islam, as if Islam is supposed to be like only in the masjid, only certain rituals, but I can blend it, I can do whatever I choose. And my desire have no limitations. I can dress whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And you cannot judge me, and don't judge me, because Iman is in my heart, and that's it. So Iman is in the heart and prayer in the masjid. And my hijab is in my heart, and end of the deal. So don't talk and keep your mouth closed. I don't want to say the other word. The same exact tyranny of the right, extreme right, who says you have to do this and you have to fully cover and you have to blah, 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 all of that. And if you don't have a beard, you're not a good Muslim. If you're not short in your clothes, you're not a good Muslims. And the sword is what's going to solve all the problems. And that's it. And if you have any opinion, you have to keep your lips closed, and that's it. So what is the difference here? These two. Tell me what's the difference. Yeah, this one is ugly, is gloomy, is everything, but this one is smiling and conniving and cunning. Both are the same. And that's why we say extreme. Don't ever think only extreme is on the right. And that's the picture the media shows you, like somebody with the beard and frowning and holding a gun. Here is the image now, is in your head. But if you, there was a movie called The Devil Wears Prada, Devil Wears Prada. I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking the title. Prada is like a big fashion thing. And the devil, is always fashionable. Don't think about the devil as the two horns and the tail and the red guy, holding this thing. And then everybody would be scared of him, don't you think so? Right? Like if the devil, imagine if the devil start walking in the streets, Iblis, Shaitan, in that image, you think anybody will listen to him? This is a scary guy, and he doesn't want to be scary. Does the devil want to be scary? He actually want to be loved. So if the devil would appear today, what would he be looking like? That's why they had like that show on Netflix they call Lucifer or something like that. And he is a guy with suit and the tie and handsome and all that and stuff like that. So yeah. So don't think about the person who is extreme as a person who is destructive in a physical sense. There is somebody actually worse. Allah Azza wa Jalla warned us from the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, more than he warned us from those who are carrying arms against us. Believers are known, non-believers are known, clear enemies to each other, and at least they are not, hiding it. But those who are looking like good, but they are disturbing the faith. So anybody who is not abiding by the rules of Islam, for me, it's as dangerous and sometimes more dangerous than the one who is extremely abiding by it and thinking that their way is right and that is how it should be applied. This left person, for me, is way dangerous because this is like everybody feels safe around, but they are trying to destroy it from within. How are we going to be ready for the interfaith dialogue if we do not have that figured out? I'm not saying go fix it. It needs generations until it's fixed, but be aware of it. Be aware of it because, why I'm focusing on this today, because, when I go interfaith dialogue, I see this too sometimes there. Now, the right, not always there, but always I see this from the extreme left, trying their best, not actually to present Islam, but they're trying to block everybody else from presenting Islam and trying to show the non-Muslims that we are the Islam, look at us, Anybody else you see not like us, not looking like us, becomes no good. And that actually is counterproductive. This is doing the disservice to the Muslim community and they hurting themselves because their own children will not find anything different when they grow up. And if you are like, okay, it's we're all sweet, we're all the same, there is nothing different, and you guys like our religion is one, and Abrahamic faith, and blah blah blah, kumbaya, all of that. So when our children grow up, whether Christian, Jews, or Muslims, when these children sit together, what do they feel now? I want them to feel like they are the same American citizens. I want them to feel like they are same, men and women. I want them to feel the same in everything. But when it comes to your faith, you should not compromise. When it comes to your worship, I'm going to go on the side and do my prayer, and you can go do your prayer. We should be proud of that, actually. Actually, this should be something respected. This country is about respecting your freedom. So when the time of prayer comes, each one can go and pray in their own, but we can be good, strong American citizen, no issue. No issue at all. But to compromise the deen, no. That's what other religions did. Start compromising until they don't have anything from the original religion. And it's not my word. It's their own people, their own scholars saying these things. That, the scholars of Christianity and Judaism and the divine messages, they'll tell you that the original message is like that. Jesus used to pray like that. And Moses used to pray like that. Why you are not praying like that? That's a question. We pray like Muhammad ﷺ prayed. That's what we do. We said that every Muslim anywhere in the world prays exactly the same. Yeah, variations are there, but same. 5 times a day, there is standing, a ruku', and the sujood. SubhanAllah, in every religion, Jews and the Christians, there are groups from them that they do qiyam, ruku', and sujood. Search it. You will find it on YouTube, exactly the same. Orthodox Christians or Orthodox Jews, there are sects from them that they have their prayers up and down, exactly not the same order, but ruku', sujood, praising God, all of that, same thing. Because this is divine, if it's divine message coming from the same God, he has to teach the same thing, same exact thing. And that's what we do in our interfaith dialogue when we dialogue about the religion. And that's the sensitive part. We're going to talk about it next time, maybe. But in the interfaith dialogue, it's a huge area of improvement, and 90% of it would be positive and great. I was very happy one time when I went to, I think, a place in New York, Syracuse, New York, or something like that, a decade ago, maybe 10 years ago. And when I went there was some incident of some type happening in the United States. And the Muslims were targeted or something like that. And upon my arrival, there was a group from a church, neighboring church, bringing like a gift basket, and the delegation came, are here to support you and everything. And they came on a Friday, and that was amazing. That was great. I thanked them, and we had a good, nice talk and all of that, and we'll do the same thing if they have something similar. We wish that doesn't happen to anybody, but yeah, when the few incidents happened in the Muslim community, I got like many calls from my Jew and Christian counterparts, like the rabbis and the ministers and all of that, and I do the same whenever they have an incident. They call me, greet me with da'ir, I call them in their events and all of that. There were no issue in these things. We go visit, we go have lunch together, we go like hunt together, we go do things like that, And I do not see this as the problem. The problem is when each one of us come to the sensitive area of Aqidah and Creed and try to compromise that as well. You have a 95% ground to work on, but you insist on coming to this 5% of personal, individual, not to be compromised, non-wavering faith. It's called faith, for God's sake. It's called belief, for God's sake. If you abandon that as well, or try to twist it or tweak it, then what's left for you? I believe in Allah as one. I believe in Isa alayhi salam as a servant of Allah. I pray 5 times a day. I believe that to enter Jannah, you have to be a Muslim. Does that make me your enemy in this world? No. Does that make me hate you as a human being? No. I wish for you to go to paradise the same way I do, but I will not compromise. And I'm expecting the same from you, not to compromise. In Egypt, back in the last century, there was a call from some Muslim and Christian groups. In Egypt, there is Orthodox Christians. Just for your information, the Christians in Egypt, the majority is Orthodox, not Catholics. There is Catholic, there's Protestant, but the majority there is Orthodox Christians, and they do not follow the Pope of Rome or the Pontiff. They follow their own Pope, who is, the Pope of the Alexandria Church. And under him, the people all over the world, Pope. And so it's a big deal, like in Egypt. Okay, so there was a call last century that from groups from both sides that why we do not come together and figure out the faith part, the creed part, that all Egyptians become like in one mold, instead of these, skirmishes and here and there, and sensitivity issues. The answer came actually from a Christian scholar, not from a Muslim scholar, and wrote it in one of the most famous newspapers. And he said that, the only way to compromise that aspect of faith is either everybody believes in the Trinity, everybody believes that Jesus was killed, crucified, died, and then he was raised, and and he's the Son of God, or whatever it is. So they have to believe in exactly that, and everybody becomes Christian at that moment. Or they believe that Jesus is just a servant of God, he's a human, he does not have any godly thing about him, and he's a messenger and all of that, then everybody becomes Muslim. But there is no way in the middle, there is no third way. And that answer did not come from a Muslim, it came from an Orthodox Christian. You see? So, and that's fair. That's very fair, actually. It's the fairness itself. Because what else, if I compromise my belief and you compromise your belief, means neither of us have a belief. So whatever we agree on is not going to stand after a while, because we give up our original faith for something else. Just we're deceiving ourselves here. So our children coming later on and said, our parents did not know anything. We don't want Islam, no want Christianity or Judaism, then no religion. And that's actually what they're doing while we are still alive. In front of our eyes, youth and teenagers from all three faiths, they do not believe in all three faiths. And go to, what's it called? Pew Research Center. There's a research, and you will find how the youth look at faith and the religion and all of that. That's scary. That will tell you exactly how it's going to look like in the next 20, 30 years. And some of us will be still alive to see it. But they consider themselves religious, but non-denominational, whatever. But there is no specific thing. Why? Because they see that. So the more people compromise their faith, the faster it's going to become no faith. So the whole idea is to hold tight to your faith, actually. Don't compromise that. Yeah, work and cooperate with people and coordinate with people in different affairs of life. Talk about politics, talk about how to improve the United States economy, talk about, the municipalities, talk about, school boards, talk about, like the water districts, talk about, the city council, talk about roads and construction and all of that, talk about housing, talk about alternatives, talk about health, talk about education. Oh yeah. This is religious stuff, actually. Go vote, see who's your judge and who's your controller, who's your attorney general, and who's your governor, and who's your city council and mayor and judges, and we talked about that, school boards and principals, and be involved. That's being a Muslim. Then when other people who are religiously oriented want to talk to us, actually this is better, because they have a faith and you have a faith and we both know what faith means. Actually, I want you to be tight on your faith. It's not like I'm promoting it because again, it's my faith, but I'm saying I respect you. When I talk to you, I talk to somebody who's holding a faith, not somebody who's wishy-washy, because if they are like that, they're not being Muslim, they're not being a Christian or a Jew, I have a problem. Same thing, when a Muslim who's not really understanding Islam or anything like that, I'm doing interfaith dialogue. But what are you doing? Is this what Islam is? They will look and by the way, for your information, majority of, if not all big leaders who are involved in interfaith, they want to talk to an actual scholar. They may have those events and stuff like that, but they're not shallow thinking people. They're not narrow-minded. They know who's who, and they research and they read books and they talk to others. I get many questions. Is this really what, where do you put these statements from such and such scholars on the Islamic, knowledge scale? I get asked that question, by the way. Like, where do you put this statement came from? So I don't want to mention names, but such and such person, Imam Mamdouh, made that statement. What do you think? And I'm sure they're not asking me that question. They're asking others, including that person himself. Like, where do you put your statement on the knowledge scale? Like, from this Muslim heritage of 1400 years, where does that fit? You know, when a big scholar or Al-Azhar or somebody in the media or an imam here or a famous guy there, make a statement, don't feel so happy that, oh, our Sheikh such and such or Dr. such and such made a statement. No, actually people talk and they ask. They ask him, they ask her, they ask me, they ask others from every direction. And what do they get? Oh, Muslims don't have an opinion, or Muslims, they have a various thing, or they have a conflict among themselves. Oh, that's out of place, or this extreme right, this extreme left. Yeah. So people are smart, and we should do the same thing. I do the same thing. Whenever somebody speaks in the name of Christianity or Jews, I call my people I know, and I tell them, like, what is that? Where does this stand? So before you go to the interfaith, my point today is, before you go to any interfaith dialogue, you have to be aware of your in-house politics. In-house, right, left, front, back, remember that. And you have to understand exactly what is going on, because if you are offensive in, you'll be defensive or offensive out. And if you are defensive in, you're going to be offensive or defensive out. It means what? You have to understand exactly your position. You have to know exactly what you're doing. Are you doing da'wah? Are you doing a presentation? Are you doing a dialogue? And if you're doing a dialogue, what kind of dialogue? Social dialogue, political dialogue, economical dialogue, or faith? So it's also intended to say interfaith activities or interfaith dialogue. I talked about that before, so go back to that. And in the dialogue itself, you are talking about what? How religion look at different things, because our religion looks at everything, or the belief system itself compared to the other beliefs. Or you are saying, oh, Islam is the best way that looks at everything, then that's why. Like, what exactly are you doing? You have to be ready for it. Also, today we talked about the issue of not compromising your own faith for someone else, because if you do that, you're losing actually your own followers. And people don't respect you, because if you betray your own religion, you can betray anybody else. So you do not count. Sometimes your enemy wants a respected enemy. like they want somebody that they can fight, not somebody cunning or somebody who's like betraying their own people. So what guarantees me that they are going to be trustworthy with me? Their loyalty is not going to be there. If they are not loyal to their own blood, how are they going to be loyal to anybody else? Yeah. So those are the things that we talked about before jumping. So you have to know exactly where is your location in the map and what you say. Are you compromising or not? What kind of dialogue, if you are having a dialogue? What is your role? If you don't understand anything, it's better to stay quiet, stay and learn and to know exactly what you do. And that's exactly what the topic is, how to involve in interfaith dialogue without compromising your religion, without violating the principles. So you have to know your religion, you have to know the principles, you have to know who you are, you have to know what is your position, what is your aptitude and capacity and ability, if it is the right time or not, if it's the right person to talk or not, what is their level. So that means it's a teamwork and it's a big structure. It's not like because you want to do it, you go do it. And because I see that all the time, brother, and it's among brothers more than sisters, they come and they hear Sheikh Ahmed Didat or Dr. Zaid Kirnaib or someone in the interfaith, and they become excited and pumped up, and they go memorize their speech verbatim. And now I'm like them. No, you have to see what they went through: 30 years, 40 years of studying and experience, and doing things and being corrected until they are. So somebody like take one dialogue and come to the masjid and they are, Sheikh, ready, I'm ready to go. It's like, somebody hear me reciting in a different recitation, he likes it, he goes Google it, listen to the YouTube recording of one of them, and he come recite it in the salah. Oh man, I read with a different recitation today. Do you know what were you doing? Do you know if you made a mistake or not? Did somebody hear you? So what is the point? Quran has to be through chain of narration, people who heard each other. You are sometimes doing the disservice and making people become more bold and transgressing and doing things that they are not supposed to be doing. Yeah, when you step into an arena without being ready, you gotta be ready. It's like, you're stepping to the conflict without having the right tools. Yeah, you have great ideas, but where are your tools that you're gonna use? And sometimes, the warning comes from Allah Azza wa Jalla, said, do you want me to tell you who are the biggest losers? Those who lost their deeds, rewarded for deeds. الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا, those who gone astray in this world. وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا, while they were assuming or thinking that they are doing right. That's the worst thing. That when you believe in yourself that you are doing right, well, actually you are doing the complete opposite. It's not about feeling. It's not about that everybody's like clapping for you. It's not like everybody's. No, we Muslims have a criteria, a 1400-year-old criteria. It's not something new. And, take away the arrogance, take away the ego, take away the culture, take away that, and be humble and seek the knowledge and go with the basics of belief. Who's Allah? And if somebody asks you, like, who's Allah? Describe Allah. You're gonna make up? Is there a standard definition of Allah? See? You see now? It's shocking, right? Is there a standard definition of Allah, or are you just gonna come up with your own from what you think is right? See how the basics. Like if you wanted to describe, our God, his name is Allah, and he is what? How you're gonna keep describing, like going extemporaneous, like going like improvising, or there is a standard one? Or you're gonna bring an ayah from the Quran, Wallahu alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sinatun. You may, but you see, you were lost for a few seconds there. I'm 100% sure. And you were already thinking about your own definitions. Oh my God, Sheikh will put us on the spot right now. And when I give you Ayatul Kursi, yeah, But is that enough though? See, now you're confused again. How about Allah, Zahirul Batinul? How about the end of Surah Al-Hashr? Is there a definition that you can put all of those things, like short and sweet? How about Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ? What are the attributes of Allah? What is the difference between names and attributes? Names and attributes. Can you call Allah a name that he was not called with, based on your understanding of the Quran? What are Allah's abilities? Yeah, unlimited, but what does that mean? What is Allah compared to time, or to place, or to concepts? Where is he exactly? You can say Allah is everywhere, or Allah is above heavens. Both true, but what do you mean by that? You see, basics. Can Prophet Muhammad make mistakes? What kind of mistakes? Why he would make mistake? What is the value of his mistakes to us? Who are the companions of the Prophet ﷺ? What's their authority? How much respect you should have to them? What's the importance of the companions' credibility? That's faith, creed 101. What is the meaning of the word salah? What is the meaning of the word zakah? Zakah means purification. What does that have to do with paying money? What has to be 2.5%? What about the zakah of the oil, or the things that you find a treasure? Is it 2.5%? No. What are the zakatable monies? Like if I have grape vine, do I give zakah in that? If I have peach tree, I have an orchard, peach orchard. Do I give the banana or citrus? Do I give zakah on that one? Or it has to be only in barley and grains and all of that? So this is basics. See, I just give you a few questions now to tell you how much you know about your own religion before jumping into it, because interfaith people will ask you about your own religion, and if every question you have, no, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So who are you now coming to represent Islam? Who are you? Like, why are you here? Go learn about your religion first. And if you go there and people don't ask that question, that means it's a joke. It's not an interfaith dialogue or interfaith thing. It's a joke. People just want to feel good and eat some food and go, if that's the case, you know. But if you go there and you are asked about your religion and all affairs of your religion, that's actually what a dialogue is. Okay? So don't fall for these things that people want to be like socially correct and, you know, have some social things to feel good about each other. They can do that in a neighborly way. We don't have to talk as Muslims or Christians or anything. We're all Americans. Okay, let's have a barbecue, or let's have, like, you know, some social activities, you know, have some corn and drink some tea, you know, or coffee or whatever it is. Have a picnic. But if you want to call it an interfaith dialogue, means I'm expecting to ask questions and you ask me questions about my religion and how my religion looks at things. So if I do not know my basics, it's going to be a shame, you know, it's going to be a problem. I want to stop here today and give you a chance to ask questions. And I would love if you can prepare a certain list of 5-6 points. Don't go more than that. Maybe 4, 5, 6 maximum, 3 minimum points that you want me to discuss next week in regards to the interfaith, so we can become more on point. So I'd love if you can come with 3 to 6 points for next week's session, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, alhamdulillah. Your questions.
Sheikh, I'll ask the first question, inshallah.
Go ahead.
I noticed that you made a distinction. You did not call them your Jewish and Christian friends. You call them counterparts. One of the most important thing I think going into interfaith activities is not that we're seeking friends out there. Yes, we will be friendly, like cordial, but it's not that I'm looking for a Jewish friend or, you know, a Christian Muslim. In accordance to the ayats in Surah Ali Imran, do we have the right understanding of it, or would you like to expand on that a little bit?
If I understood you right, it's always on how I'm very careful to say friend, because people misunderstand that word. It's kind of like a loose term. Kids use it different than the teenagers than the adults than the young professionals, young professionals than the mature people who are, you know, already established in society. Men use it for different from women. So that's why I say counterparts, because, you know, relating to their position, there's a reverend, there's a rabbi, and I'm an imam. So they are counterparts. If you mean that, you know, we talk with each other or we eat with each other and all that, and you say, okay, they are friends with that meaning, yeah, then we are friends. But if you talk like, you know, someone that you're going to share your privacy with and all of that, that's still because, you know, people actually they get married to other religion. You know, a man can marry a Jewish or a Christian woman. You cannot tell them not to love them. Love is even more than friendship, you know. So the word wali or awliya does not mean friends in Quran. Wali means somebody that you are willing to compromise your faith for them. And that's what happens when you have a close friend, close, dear friend. What happens? You are willing to, you know, move mountains for them. But you still pray, and they still pray. You still believe Allah is one, and they believe in Allah is one. So if moving mountain for them would clash with your belief, you tell them, no, that's not what we both believe in. You know, like if my wife or my son or my daughter or my dear friend or someone I respect and love so much will cause me to steal, I said, no, I cannot steal, because stealing is haram and we both believe in that, right? Right. You know, I cannot compromise my prayers for you, right? Right. I cannot cheat, right? Right. We both believe in this. Okay? And you know, we have to do everything for Allah. Allah is one. And Allah is watching over us. You cannot do that. But if my friend believes that you can do anything wrong and God will forgive you, because he died for your sins, and because they are very close friends, are you willing to follow that, or follow your own thing that the sin is a sin? Your sin, you're going to be punished for it. And that is what awliya is. You cannot use someone from another religion as wali. That means there will be a chance that you'll be tested. That friendship will be tested. Are you going to compromise your faith or not? Are you going to compromise your prayers or not? You see? So that's where it is. But you know, friends means in the social sense or in the regular sense, oh, it's okay. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, Sheikh, you did. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much for that clarification.
And I sent another resolution of contemporary da'wah issues in non-Muslim land about, you know, concerning fundamentalism, you know, slavery, polygyny, music, honor killing, you know, understanding of jihad, you know, terrorism, and all of that. You know, this should be like your cheat sheet. Like if you, you know, wanted to talk from an authority perspective, that there are scholars, international scholars. This is an organization here in the United States, and you know, and all of that. So there are lots of issues there, and you'll know exactly where you're standing, and you can answer in a general sense those questions.
So I look at it, it's just a 16-page document. It's very easy to go through.
But it covers basically everything, and you can have Amjad as your resource in doing these things.
Okay, I have a quick question also on the matters of, so say for example there are interfaith events that happen all around town, and when it comes to representing Islam, of course there are many other sects of Islam, and each want to represent themselves as you know, the Muslim authority. How do we overcome that?
Say that again. What is that? Facing what?
So say for example, there's a, you know, somebody going from our masjid, then there's another one coming from a Shia masjid and an Ahmadi mosque, and they're all claiming to be Muslim. How do we avoid that confusion for an interfaith event? How do we?
Believe me, interfaith events, they know exactly what are they doing. When they know how Sunnis look at Ahmadis and Shia. They know how Shia look at the two. They know how Ahmadis look at the two. I never been on an event that the Christian scholars there do not know exactly who's who. Otherwise, they will not invite all three. Okay. You know, they know exactly what it is. So basically, stick to what you do, and that's it. You say I'm a Sunni Muslim, and that's it. You might even find other variations of Sunni Muslim. The burden of validating is on them. It's not on us. Don't think that you have to. You know, you are responsible for the confusion that is happening within the Muslims. You know, you're responsible for your own knowledge, how you present, what you represent, you know, but you're not responsible for what others represent. So I am teaching you here not to be among this confusing thing. You know, be straightforward, and you create a brand. And that's what we're doing, you know, creating a brand, a group of sisters at Masjid al-Salam who are well aware of classical texts, knowing tafsir, knowing this kind of things. They have courses, and they have continuous education, and they are learning. How many sisters in the city of Houston, they're having the same chance that you have? You see, that's the question you ask. So you're creating your own brand. So you worry about that, but you're not going to eliminate that confusion in the minds of the people. And people are smart, as I said. You know, they find somebody persistent, consistent, knowledgeable. They find answers for their questions. They respect that. All right?
Thank you, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair.
So I have a couple of comments and questions, Sheikh, if I may. This is Santalani. So last week there was an event at the Ahmadi Mosque. It was a women's only interfaith event, and I was invited, so I attended, which I tend to do. You know, my objective purpose of attending interfaith events is not so much in expanding what my belief is, but more so to understand where the others are coming from, and to do a comparative analysis, because I always, alhamdulillah, find out that Islam excels and exceeds in most aspects, every aspect that I've ever looked into. But anyway, at the Ahmadi event, there was a huge turnout of Ahmadi women. It was very well organized and well presented. They asked some of the interfaith Christian leaders to talk about it as well, and they presented it as a something that, you know, the world is in turmoil. How do we approach peace and so on? But in reality, it was a sales pitch for the new book that the leader of the Ahmadi community has published, and they gave away free, they gave away free books to the interfaith attendees. So, yeah, and you're right. People are smart. They understood exactly what it was coming through, but it was well done, and it was, I think, a good representative of Ahmadi Islam, or Ahmadi faith, not Islam. But I felt very disturbed, and I kind of want to find ways to express. I mean, I understand everything that you said here, but and going off of Miriam's assessment, I want to represent ourselves as Sunni Muslims,
Right.
In a better fashion than we do already.
All right. Let me give you an advice. Okay. I'll share an incident first. I'll give you a principle, then I'll give you the advice. Okay. So hear me carefully, inshallah. Listen to me carefully. One, there is always something called in education, yani, that the agenda and the hidden agenda. They're always in everything. There's hidden agenda. A hidden agenda is not something bad all the time. When you see an advertisement, for a detergent, when you see a detergent, what is the main agenda? To sell that detergent, right? What is the hidden agenda? There is a hidden agenda. There has to be a hidden agenda.
It's a sales pitch.
Yeah, I know, but the hidden agenda behind detergent.
Changing the mindset.
Agenda is that this is the only one that will do the job. Over time, that's what you think. The more they advertise, then when you go to the store, your eye only will come on that one. You see, you can be holding other things, but you come back to that one. And you can go to other stores, but you come back to that one. And that was the hidden agenda served. Another example, in education, the kids, the book teaches them numbers or letters. That is the agenda, to teach them letters. But the pictures used to teach them that's the hidden agenda. That is the hidden goal. It's further than just learning the numbers and letters. It's giving them concepts, giving them concepts, a concept. Whenever you say an airplane, they bring some clouds with it. They do not bring an airplane in the hangar, on the ground. They wanted to show the kids that airplane means it flies, but that's called an airplane. Airplane, that's what an airplane looks like. But there are some clouds there, So they bring a bird that is flying, and so on and so forth. So there's always a hidden agenda. So you have to be smart enough to always read beyond what is presented. Okay, that's number one. That is the principle. Now let me share with you an incident. I was invited to an interfaith dialogue to discuss who's God and all that. So it was focused on creed. Recently, about 3-4 months ago, there was a Jewish rabbi and a Christian minister and myself as an imam. And I don't know if you were there or not, but there was 3 people there. And we talked, and it was very nice. Good. Okay, great. We had the dinner and we all left. But before we leave, the Jewish rabbi and myself were handed like an envelope. And in that envelope, there was preaching Christianity and inviting people to accept Christianity and so on. That was an insult, right? So the Jewish rabbi called me and he said, I feel insulted and and I'm going to send a letter and all of this. And I said, yeah, that's fine. But voiced my concern, and that shouldn't have been the way to handle it. And maybe the person who did, give them the benefit of the doubt. And the Jewish rabbi sent them a letter saying the same thing. So basically, when you are quiet, you cannot blame anybody but yourself. So that's my advice now. And that's our problem as Sunni Muslims. Always we accommodate everybody, but in our own account of our own voice. And that's compromise. I don't like that. So whenever I go, a Shia representative or an Ahmadi representative, they are eager to prove themselves, to preach their things. So we exist. We believe like that. We are here. We are the ones attacked. We are the ones persecuted. We are the ones like that. And we are just quiet. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not saying that, we accuse everybody who's lying. No, like you said, write a letter. I attended. I liked it. And when I came, I was like that. I appreciate that it was well attended by women. Those are the good things. But my concerns are there was a hidden agenda to give us your book. You should have stated that in your advertisement. So I feel like this was a hidden agenda. State it. Say things politely and nicely and bravely. And that's how you have an existence. That's when people talk to us, there are boundaries. They know exactly that the person that they're talking to, they're proud of their belief. They're not compromising their belief. There's something that you can rely on and they will not compromise their belief. They can trust you.
I'm just going to interject. Alhamdulillah, I was not handed the book. I think they know me really well.
Yeah, but it was.
Yeah, but the Christians, and it was mostly Christian women from the Interfaith group that did get the gifts. I did not. So I was especially picked out as one not to get this. So I'm glad about that.
Yes, inshallah. So I will stop here, inshallah, so I can go for Zohar, and then, we'll talk after that, inshallah, the next time, right?
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.